Forums, yes, fucking finally. Had some issues with this fucking computer being a total brick and a half. And then, a few minutes ago at 7 o'clock, I was trying to get the live stream started. Clicked on go live, and the button on YouTube just wouldn't work. It didn't want to go to, it didn't want to turn blue, basically, that allows me to click on it and go live. I honestly think Firefox has become absolute trash. So I switched over to Microsoft Edge to see if that would get it to work, and lo and behold. Yeah, I'm going to be looking for a new browser, I think, because Firefox just fucking sucks. They've been updating it a lot recently, and I'm just not liking it anymore. Which sucks, because I've used Firefox for years. But, you know, it is what it is. But it's 2025. Maybe it's time for a fresh start anyways. Which, yeah. What do you want, cat? What you want, Claw? Hey, that Claw kitty. Butthead. Alright. Alright, so we're going to be getting started here in a minute. First, we got to do the usual business. The sponsor prelude and the brand new intro that I have made for Burnt Rubber here in 2025. So, without further ado, let's do the dance. Brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Stay tuned until after the video to learn how you can save 10% off of your order. I seriously need a new computer. So anyways, welcome into tonight's edition of Burnt Rubber here on Thursday, January the 16th, 2025. And we're going to be getting started here in a minute. And as you can see, got a brand new overlay and all that good stuff. And the box down at the bottom is for the topics. And of course, got the chat on the right side. And me over on the left. So, I think it looks a lot nicer than the previous one. The previous one was kind of a rush job. So, I think this is a lot better looking. So, obviously, there's a lot to talk about from the last couple weeks here at the beginning of 2025. Lots of NASCAR rule changes and some other stuff that's been going on in the NASCAR verse. And we're going to be getting into all of that here in this episode. But first, there's something that I want to talk about. It's a personal word for me. Because it's something that I got to get off my chest. So, needless to say, the latter half of 2024 was very difficult for me personally. Because in June of 2024, I was laid off from my job of 14 years. Which was, well, pretty depressing, to say the least. And I was on unemployment up until Tuesday. This past Tuesday was the last check that I got from unemployment. So basically, I was on unemployment for the better part of 6 to 7 months. And during that time, I was not idle in trying to find a new job. Because I was on Indeed all the time. And other job search sites, you know, just looking for a new job. And it just didn't really seem like stuff was panning out. Now, there were some positives. Of course, the launching of Isaac the Survivalist and all the content that I was able to make and preload onto that channel. And because of all the content that I have for it at the moment, I currently have stuff uploaded through to November. And I still got more to upload to complete the rest of this calendar year and then get started on next year's content. So there's that. So that's a positive. But the thing about being on unemployment is, yeah, you might still have money coming in to help you pay the bills and all that good stuff. But, I mean, going from having a full-time job to unemployment was basically a loss of about $800 to $900 per month for me. And having to try to pay the bills and pay my lot rent while also trying to sustain myself and my 4 boys, and basically having to micromanage my finances for as long as I did. I mean, it was rough. It was extremely rough, and I think that a part of that is what caused my volatility, especially during certain spare parts events. And and I tried to get away from that, and I pretty much did. But the stress of not having a job and worrying about how I'm going to make ends meet, I mean, it definitely made me a bit more volatile than usual. And it was rough. It was extremely rough. The latter half of 2024, I mean, it's honestly a time I'd rather forget, truth be told, in a lot of different facets. Because it just seemed like nothing was going right. Then in December, I finally started getting some calls about, phone interviews, basically. And a couple of them basically didn't pan out. And I was on the verge of just breaking down in tears completely. Because it's like, I'm trying my damnedest to try to find employment. And it just seemed like nothing was working. Now we're into 2025. And the pressure's on to find a new job. Because my unemployment was running out and ran out the 14th. So I didn't have much time. And that's when I got an offer to go to this hiring fair for a new business. Well, I wouldn't exactly say, well, it's new-ish, I guess you could say. But the warehouse that they moved into is about 2 years old, and they've only been there for like a year. And they're basically upscaling their business. Like, pretty much 70% of their business is running out of that warehouse. So they basically needed the workforce to be able to, get the workload out, get all the orders out, and all that good stuff. So they basically I guess they've started doing hiring fairs, and mine was last Wednesday, which is why I have the new green jacket. I basically got me and my mother basically went to a local store and basically got some nice clothes for the occasion. And go there, do the whole rigmarole, tell them about my past experience as a warehouse worker, which might come as a bit of a surprise to some of you, because as you've probably seen in the past, I'm not exactly the thinnest guy in the world. I do have a wide waist, to say the least. But warehouse work is, it's what I do. It's something that I've been doing for almost 20 years now. And I think that's pretty much what got it over the line for me with this new job, because they brought people out, back out into the main hallway, and I didn't know this person at the time, but as it turned out, she would actually be part of HR, or they named it something else. I don't quite remember what it was, but she basically offered me a job on the spot, which is something that they said that they would do. And if you didn't get offered a job, then they said not to fret. You'll probably receive a phone call within the next 24 to 48 hours. But I was offered a job on the spot. And let me tell you something. When I got that offer, it took everything I had to not pop off right then and there. And the timing could not have been better. I mean, I started work this week on Monday, January the 13th, 2025, at this new job, and my unemployment literally ran out the very next day. It couldn't have been more perfectly timed. And I began to think to myself, maybe 2025 will be a much better year for me. A fresh start. Because that's all I was really looking for, is a fresh start. And now I have a new job, a good paying job. I get paid my starting pay is $18 an hour, which coincidentally is $1 more than what I had been making at my previous job when I was laid off there. So there's that. And on top of that, the Buckeyes kicking some serious ass and have a chance to win the national championship this coming Monday. I got to see them win the Rose Bowl and then the Cotton Bowl. And now they have a chance at the national championship. The start of this year it couldn't be better. God damn it. God, this fucking computer. This is why I haven't been able to live stream the last two fucking spare parts events. Because this computer just does not want to cooperate anymore. But when I said this is going to be a year of change, a fresh start, one of the first things that I'm going to be getting when I start getting my money rolling again is a new fucking computer. Because good freaking Lord, this computer has been a pain in the ass for a while now. But I got my new job now. And funny thing is, we're actually working this Saturday. They said that they hopefully you can get a new computer. Yeah. I don't know when it'll be. It'll probably be sometime in February, I would say, because they pay bi-weekly, and I'm not going to get my first check until the 31st. So 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I got a bit of a wait, and that check has to be put towards my car insurance, my internet, and my lot rent. Although that extra little bit of overtime will help because, I mean, 18 an hour times 1.5 is 27 an hour for Saturday. And apparently, right now, there's going to be a lot of optional overtime or voluntary overtime that's going to be available. And I might end up taking advantage of that because, you know, I do want to get a new computer because let's be honest here. In terms of age, this thing is not that old, but in computer terms, it's pretty old at this point. Especially as far as gaming PCs go, because this computer that I currently operate on has pretty much been around since the start of this channel. And we're into year 7 of this channel's existence. So I think it's about time that I get an upgrade for the most part. But that'll probably come sometime in February. And hopefully won't have to deal with all this nonsense anymore. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to get that off my chest, let you all know what the hell's going on. And I think 2025 is going to be a renaissance. Not only for me personally, but hopefully for my YouTube channels. This one, Isaac the Survivalist, and a third one, and I'm also starting called Our Honor Defend Archives, which is basically going to be like an archive of, Ohio State moments and stuff like that. And it kind of in the same vein as I'm going to do with Motorsport Lore. Although I probably won't upload any of those kind of videos to that channel, probably not until I get my new computer. Because trying to edit anything that is going to take a lot of time to edit like one of those videos do, it's on this computer, it's just going to be too much of a pain in the ass. So I'm going to hold off on starting those primary uploads until I get my new computer, which will hopefully be in February. Once I start, I would say I would probably be that second check that I'll be able to get my new computer. And that won't come until mid-February. So there's that. But anyway, enough of me rambling on about what's been going on in my life. And we've already been here in half an hour. This is going to be a bit of a long one. So let's go ahead and get into things. Let's start with the first news topic of the day. So, NASCAR denies Mike Wallace entry into the Daytona 500. Now, evidently, let me bring it up here. So, Mike Wallace, I think, posted this on several social media platforms that says that NASCAR has informed him that he is not approved for any national touring race at Daytona in 2025. So Mike Wallace posted this, I believe, on Facebook. Daytona 500 non-update. To my utter shock and devastation, at 4 o'clock today, NASCAR competition director Elton Sawyer called me to inform me that NASCAR has decided not only to not approve me for Daytona 500, but at this time not approve to race in the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series in 2025, but could go through their process to possibly get approved for 2026. This comes as a total shock as the president of NASCAR, which is Steve Phelps, last week in a real phone call told me all was good and he will see me in Daytona. I owe this posting to all my fans and non-fans who were so supportive through the great messages and postings of support. As they say, I inspired them. Please show your love and support to Carl Long and the complete MBM Motorsports team, as this has now put them in a terrible position, as I was not just the driver but also committed to sponsorship for their Daytona 500 effort. I had sponsorship commitments for the effort around me and helped them find an approved driver and plenty of money. Thank you, Doug Yates, for being in my corner and supportive. I guess we won't get that Daytona 500 pit road picture after all. Brother Kenny, I love you and thanks for showing me so much love. In closing, on January 22nd will be the 1-year date of my wife of 44 years, Carla's passing. I love my family and we had a plan for a great family picture on pit road at Daytona. Thank you, my friends, Mike Wallace, 3-time Daytona winner, and many others. So at this point, MBM is looking for another driver with funding. And there have been some people that have been saying maybe it was for the best that even though Mike is 65 years old and he hasn't made a Cup start since 2015, Derek Cope raced in the 2021 Daytona 500, 62 years old, but NASCAR didn't have any issue with it. Yeah, that was what I was going to get to. There have been some people that say, well, maybe it's for the best because he's 65 years old. The fuck does that have to do with anything? And also, what a fucking slap in the face for Mike Wallace. I mean, he literally lost his wife last year, and he wanted to basically have one last hurrah, you know? And I think it's also kind of shitty that he got a phone call from the president of NASCAR, Steve Phelps, saying that everything was good and that he would see him at Daytona, and then all of a sudden they turn around and say, nope, you're not approved to run Daytona. What the actual fuck? And there have been some people saying, I mean, Mike Wallace is 65 years old and he hasn't run in the Cup Series since 2015. I mean, it's for the best that he's not running. Who the fuck are you to tell someone who can and can't drive? Especially someone who has experience winning at Daytona like Mike Wallace does. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's a bunch of utter fucking nonsense, especially when you consider the fact that it seemed like Steve Phelps said everything was good to go, and then all of a sudden they turn around and say, no. Doesn't that seem a little fucked up to you? And you all wonder why I don't want to do race reviews of this fucking piece of shit company probably ever again. Because why would I want to waste my time and effort on this fucking bullshit? It's ridiculous. And this is just one more example of how much of a fucking piece of shit company that NASCAR is right now. Honestly, the best case scenario that I can see for NASCAR ever turning around is if the France family sells it to a different entity. That's the only way I see this company ever turning around. But anyway, that takes care of that. So let's move on to the next topic of discussion. So this was a bit of a surprise, but a pleasant one. Kurt Busch, who, as you all know, had a concussion in a practice crash at Pocono in 2022, was out for several months. seems like they're targeting Carl Long as a team owner because they've had it out for him for years. Seems like it ever since he had that, engine infraction all those years ago. But I mean, is it really that surprising? NASCAR is about the pettiest bunch of fuckheads in all of sports. It's in their DNA. It really shouldn't come as a surprise. But anyway, back on topic. Kurt Busch was injured at Pocono, suffered a concussion, was out for several months, and then at Las Vegas, he made the announcement that he was stepping away from full-time Cup Series competition to focus on his health. And obviously, it took a toll on him because he got bought for, I believe it was a DUI a couple months ago. And he definitely seemed regretful of that happening, based on what I've seen. So, this is something I did not see coming. But this was 3 days ago. Doctors have cleared Kurt Busch to race competitively for the first time in nearly 3 years. So, let me see if I can pull this up. This is from theracingexperts.com. Kurt Busch gets medical clearance to race again. So, Kurt Busch received medical clearance to represent Team USA in this year's Race of Champions. So, he's coming back at the Race of Champions. The Race of Champions made the announcement Monday. Busch and Travis Pastrana will represent Team USA. Busch received medical clearance this week, giving him the green light to race competitively for the first time in nearly 3 years. Race car drivers always push the limits to be the best and drive to win. This is Kurt Busch speaking. That is what I have strived for my whole career, and to receive another invite from Race of Champions is a chance to go up against the best of the best from around the world. What an honor. NASCAR's always been petty. Back in the 50s, but France took away all of Lee Petty's points for competing in another series. Yeah, that was just the beginning. And he said that back then, he was like, well, I want to instill loyalty to my series. But, I mean, it's like, really, dude? It was complete and utter nonsense, even then. But Busch was sidelined by a concussion while qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series race at Pocono Raceway in July 2022. The 2004 Cup Series champion announced his retirement from full-time racing in August 2023. However, he didn't rule out returning to the track on a one-off basis like the ROC if doctors cleared him. I've talked to Kurt a few times over the past months and pleaded with him to come out of retirement since his crash in NASCAR, Travis Pastrana says. We were very happy when Kurt confirmed that he has received his medical clearance and will be making his return to racing as part of Team USA with Travis Pastrana at the Race of Champions, says Frederick Johnson, the president and co-founder of Race of Champions. Now cleared, Busch will compete over 2 nights, March the 7th and 8th, on a purpose-built 1-kilometer track at Accor Stadium in Sydney, Australia. Competitors include F1 World Champion Sebastian Vettel and World Rally Champion Sebastian Loeb. So, 2 Sebastians that are world-class drivers. And late last year, Busch also posted on social media that he was prepping for the Baja 1000 with trophy truck driver Rodrigo Impudia. That's if Kurt feels comfortable in driving a cup car again. Well, apparently, according to this, he retired from full-time racing in August of 2023. But he says he just wants to do like one-off shit. And I guess he's also racing in the Baja 1000, so there's that. But he's also getting a chance to race in the Race of Champions in March. So that's cool. So yeah, that was something that kind of came out of left field a couple days ago. I was like, huh, that's actually pretty cool. So I'm pretty sure that'll make him feel better, because, not being able to race and basically being forced to retire before you're ready, kind of sucks. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic of conversation. So this is kind of a big one. We're back to the antitrust lawsuit. For a while, NASCAR has been trying to get the antitrust lawsuit dismissed because they felt like it didn't have any merit. However, let me see. So NASCAR's argument, and I don't remember if I talked about this before, but NASCAR basically said that 2311 FRM are not efficient enforcers of antitrust claims because they didn't sign the 2025 charter that had a release clause, while also arguing that they can't sue as signees of the 2016 charter featuring the same release. However, Judge Kenneth Bell, who's presiding over the case, now says that's a catch-22 and likely illegal. Basically, it means the judge is accusing NASCAR of a logical and potentially illegal fallacy with their charter agreement. And actually, I'm pretty sure that I talked about this before, but it bears repeating again because, let's see here. NASCAR motion to dismiss is denied. Its motion for bond is also denied. So now, what they have to do is, let me see if I can find it here. Where'd it go? Bob Hawkins reported on this. All right, so this is from Bob Hawkins. This was 3 hours ago. NASCAR has asked for the U.S. Court of Appeals, which is where they're going to have to go now, for a May 15th hearing date to hear the oral argument on its appeal of the preliminary injunction that it must allow 2311 and FRM to race as chartered teams in 2025. NASCAR filing says 2311 and FRM are good with that date. So we're not even going to get to, the trial yet because NASCAR is going through the U.S. Court of Appeals to try to get this injunction overturned. So NASCAR, we need to ask the U.S. Court of Appeals for a stay pending appeal, which is delaying the enforcement of the injunction during the appeals process, in order to keep 2311 and FRM from starting the year's charter teams. So far, that has not been requested. So if the U.S. Court of Appeals actually ends up upholding the injunction, I think the only level that is above the U.S. Court of Appeals is the Supreme Court. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, honestly, if NASCAR ended up taking this all the way to the Supreme Court to try to keep this from going to trial. Because once it goes to trial, that's when we enter the discovery process. And all the financials are going to be exposed. And I guarantee you, that is the last thing that NASCAR wants. Because they consider themselves a private organization. They're not a publicly traded company. So they better hope that they either come to some sort of agreement, like some sort of settlement with the teams, or they better hope that the injunction gets overturned. Because, it's obvious that this is probably going to be going to trial because the motion to dismiss was denied. So if this injunction stays in place, NASCAR is pretty much fucked. Slap Shoes in his most recent video said that in the end, the house always wins. And after looking at this and seeing the situation that NASCAR is in right now, my question is, are you sure about that? Because as far as I can tell, At this moment in time, 2311 and FRM are playing with house money. And here's the thing, and I believe I mentioned this before. If this charter agreement, like the release from lawsuit portion of it, is not enforceable, this could potentially draw the other teams into the lawsuit as well. Because it's like, if it's not enforceable, then the other teams could conceivably join 2311 and Front Row Motorsports in this lawsuit. Then what would NASCAR do? Lawsuits can take months to years to go to trial depending on the type of case, the court, and the amount of evidence. Yeah, but I think everybody, including the judge, said that they want this to be done by the time the 2026 season rolls around. So that's why I think the preliminary date, the start date for it, is December the 1st, I believe. I'd have to double check that. But yeah, basically, NASCAR wants to have the injunction overturned. And if it's not overturned and it's upheld as it is, they're pretty much fucked. Because then it would go to trial, and then we would get to the discovery portion, and that's the last thing they want. The last thing they want is for their financials to be exposed, because then, I mean, basically everything about their business would be exposed. And that is something they don't want. So, that is the latest chapter in the NASCAR antitrust lawsuit. So, with all that out of the way, let me find the part. No, wait. That's not what I want. Yep, December the 1st is when it is. So, all right, let me find. Oh, there it is. Yeah, NASCAR will now appeal that decision to the Fourth Circuit of Appeals. I believe I already talked about all this. All right. One second. NASCAR rules changes 2025. Well, I'm pretty sure Bob Pockris. Pretty sure he tweeted about it as well. Then again, Michael Jordan is a billionaire, so he's going to do whatever it takes. Well, yeah, Michael Jordan has fuck you money. I mean, the only way to take on a billionaire in court is to have a billionaire. Is another billionaire, basically. Where in the hell is it? Because I thought I saved the damn thing and I didn't. So I'm looking for it. Okay, Jeff Gluck, I think, has these. All right, so let's get into the next portion of this. I apologize for that, but I was looking for the next topic, which is a pretty big one. And it's also the title of this episode. So, there you go. Next topic. It's the various rules changes for 2025. There's one at the top. I'm going to save that for a minute. So, first off, the playoff waiver policy has been changed. And it's a pretty big one. Basically, they were hearing all the criticism about how certain drivers were basically getting waivers into the playoffs just for the sake of it. Kyle Larson comes to mind. Chase Elliott being granted a waiver even though he was suspended after what happened in the Coke 600. So, NASCAR has changed that. So, playoff waiver policy has been changed. If a driver needs a waiver for a non-medical reason, aka Larson getting that Coca-Cola 600 waiver, they lose all their playoff points for the entire season. Current and future, meaning if they have to take a non-medical waiver, they are no longer eligible for playoff points for the remainder of the season. They can still make it into the playoffs, but they can't earn any playoff points whatsoever. And that would include suspensions, which counts as a non-medical waiver reason. And honestly, I'm fine with that. Now the Kyle Larson thing, he's attempting to do the double, and I'm hoping that doesn't really discourage people from attempting the double because of that risk. But in terms of suspensions, and having a massive penalty hit against you in terms of your chances in the playoffs, and having all of your playoff points taken away, like say if you right rear hook somebody, I'm fine with that. Because there needs to be harsh punishment for shit like that. Because right rear hooking someone is about the most dangerous thing that you can do in racing. And the punishment needs to be appropriate. One race suspensions aren't going to do shit. This, on the other hand, that'll get your fucking attention. So that is one change I do agree with. Then there's one that really caused a stir on social media. A doozy. It's a new type of provisional. It's called an open exemption provisional. A well-known driver who is a significant contributor from another series, and NASCAR drivers are not eligible, now automatically will make a cup race. Here's the thing, though. If that driver has to use this open exemption provisional, they will not earn any points or prize money. They would be basically a 41st car, but they don't earn any points or prize money. They would basically be there for the trophy. And there's a possibility that this will be used in this year's Daytona 500 because Elio Castroneves is competing in the Daytona 500 this year, and he would qualify under an open exemption provisional because he's an IndyCar driver. And I think he's also dabbled in sports car racing as well. I don't know if that's his main thing now, but for a while he was a full-time IndyCar driver. So there's that. And that caused a little bit of a stir on social media. Now, I don't know about the whole not giving them prize money part. I mean, if you don't want to award them points, that's one thing. Not giving them any prize money, though, I mean that's kind of stupid. But it definitely caused quite a stir on social media, though. That's to say the least. Manufacturer penalties. They're finally going to put manufacturer penalties into place after the debacle that was Martinsville last year. Better late than never, I suppose. But here's the new rule. If a manufacturer is found to have violation of the testing policy, wind tunnel policy, team rosters, or code of conduct, they could lose manufacturer's points and or loss of wind tunnel hours and or RCFD runs or member ejection or suspension. Minor one. It used to be that if you got suspended, it takes effect right away. Now, if it's for a technical violation, like a crew chief, that can be deferred to the next race. But if it's a behavioral thing, that is still immediate. No playoff changes, although they did say that they were considering playoff changes. I think I mentioned that in the previous edition of Burnt Rubber, though. Last episode of 2024. So that's some of the rules changes that we've had so far in 2025. There is one more that I wanted to talk about, but I kind of wanted to give it its own section because it's a pretty big one, and it's one that I had personally been clamoring for a long ass time. Sorry. Wrong one. Let's try that again. Once more with feeling. The damaged vehicle policy is no more. It's about fucking time. If there is one rule change that I will wholeheartedly agree with, it's the damaged vehicle policy being axed finally. So, as Jeff Cluck says, one of the most notable rules changes. DVC policy is getting an overhaul. Now, when I say damaged vehicle policy is no more, I mean that there's no more DVP clock in terms of eliminating a car from the race. This was such a big talking point at many points during last season. And there were a lot of times when it just, the enforcement of the rule was just absolutely stupid. Watkins Glen comes to mind. So, what they have done is that there's no more DVP clock for eliminating a car from the race. Cars can now go back to the garage to fix crash damage and then return to the race. Basically what they fucking used to do. Now, they can go to pit road to work on the damage, but they can work until the 7-minute clock is exceeded. And then they need to go to the garage. But there is no clock in the garage. And if a car can't drive back, which is, flat tires and shit, then it will get towed to the garage. However, it doesn't mean it's out of the race anymore. They can still work on it in the garage. Holy fucking shit, it's going to fucking snow. Obviously here in Ohio, because it's wintertime. And we did get some snow recently, but I mean, in a, I mean, in a metaphorical sense. How long have I been clamoring to say we need the damaged vehicle policy to be kaput? How long have I been saying that? You know, and we finally see the damaged vehicle policy finally fucking changed to something that actually makes sense. No more of this, you know, judgment call bullshit like we saw a lot of times last year that caused more controversy than honestly needed to happen. So, this is one of those rule changes that I would say, yes, thumbs up. Now, how about one more important rule change? How about we just get rid of the fucking playoffs? Or at least go back to the chase format. I mean, the chase format honestly made more fucking sense than this bullshit we got now. So, of course, they say they're not going to change. And it's like, you know what? Fine. Shove it up your ass. But, I mean, at the very least, yes, having the damaged vehicle policy changed is a big plus. But the fact of the matter is, more changes need to be made. This is a good first step, but there's still a long way to go until NASCAR finds itself back in my good graces. So, anywho, that's going to do it for tonight's long-ass edition of Burnt Rubber. A 1-hour edition of Burnt Rubber to start 2025. But there was a lot to talk about. A hell of a lot to talk about. And I also wanted to get all that stuff from at the beginning off my chest. To talk about basically what happened at the end of 2024 and into 2025. But I feel like this is going to be a year of change. A fresh start for me personally. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see how it unfolds. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on. And the return of the fuel coming up not too long from now. Because next weekend, it's the Rolex 24. First race of the IMSA season. Speaking of Rolex 24, though, this weekend, iRacing is doing their version of the Rolex 24. And I know a lot of the spare parts guys are going to be racing in it. And some are actually considering forming a team themselves and competing. So I will probably be watching that, especially if the Cup commanders are competing. Because I've always been a pretty big fan of those guys, especially Michael Cozy Jr., who's WinVal8820 on YouTube and Twitch. And he's also a NASCAR Coca-Cola Series driver. So, and he just got signed to a new team. We don't know what that one is yet, but they changed it to where they have 49 drivers available for 40 spots, but you have to be signed to a team in order to compete. I mean, honestly, I don't know about that because, I mean, you could go through, you know, the entire rigmarole, the Contender Series and all that, to be eligible just to not get picked. And then there are guys last year who ended up finishing second in points and wasn't even signed to a team for this year. Like, how fucked up is that? It's like it's getting to the point now where even e-racing is becoming less and less merit-based. What the fuck are we doing here? I mean, seriously. I don't know. But anyway, that's going to do it for tonight's edition of Burnt Rubber. Thank you very much for watching this opening edition of 2025, and hopefully there will be more to come. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out. Let's go 2025. See you later. The outro was supposed to play right there, damn it. Try again. I didn't have it prepared because it was the old outro and that video has been deleted because I have a new outro. Lord have mercy. Once more. Let's try this again. See you later. Now fucking do it. Hey, what's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan letting you know that tonight's video was sponsored by Reaper Apparel Company. By clicking on the affiliate link down below in the description box, you'll be able to browse through many of their different wares, such as hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and other cool items. When you place an order and you go to checkout, be sure to type in the code PackerMan and you'll be able to save 10% off of your order. Reaper Apparel Company. Apparel to die for. Hey, ladies and germs, just want to say thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And also check out my other channels, Isaac the Survivalist and Our Honor Defend Archives, if you're a Buckeye fan. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.